Welcome to Hooping This On, Season 5, Episode 40, where we watch The Big Day. Here Comes the Type A Bride, Season 1, Episode 2. I'm Chris Lorenz.
This is Brian.
This is Noah Singer.
Robert Kitts.
This is BJ.
This is Max Tremoni.
Well, if this is your
Solid
first time listening to us, we watch a different reality show each week, discuss it in minute detail, and give it a rating. So, Rob, what did we watch this week?
We watched The Big Day. For 6 engaged couples, happily ever after begins on a spectacular note in this eye-popping look at India's multi-billion-dollar wedding industry. And that's on Netflix.
Okay, so we watched one episode, had 2 couples in it, right?
Right.
We have VJ. Why don't you tell us who these people are, so I don't feel bad about it, screwing up their names?
I don't remember exactly.
So the
Olivia is one bride, and Ami is the other bride.
Yeah.
They're fiancés slash.
Nitin and Rajat.
They're pretty relevant to the show mostly. They can exist for comedy, I guess. I don't know. They just kind of exist.
Well, I mean, like as we're actually getting into it, I guess is Pallavi. She's the type A white. Or are they both considered type A?
They're
They're
both.
Both considered type A, and I would argue that Ami is the real crazy one. Pallavi is
Much
just
more.
trying to be not discriminated against.
Yeah, Pallavi does not come off as a bridezilla at all. Like, here comes the Type A bride, which is like what this episode's supposed to be about. Ami fits the bill. Pallavi is just all about equality.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, sure. She's the one that talked about it a lot, like wanting it to be perfect. Like, I didn't really hear Ami like saying much about it. So that's
Here's all you need to know about Ami. One incident and one incident only. In her invitation card, she writes a poem that is from her parents, dedicated to her, but actually she's written it and she puts it in the invitation. That's it. That's all you need to know about her personality.
I missed that whole thing.
You missed a good one, Chris.
Yeah. So like that's how crazy she is. She literally writes a poem, then dedicates it to herself in her invitation from her parents. Her parents had no input into this poem.
I just was really confused on that front because they kept using some word that I had no idea what it meant, and I guess I kind of zoned out.
What word was that?
Poem.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I just zoned out before this thing
Was
already
it?
happened.
Auspicious, I gotta say, my first interactions with Indian weddings, auspicious was everywhere. I did not know what that meant before my Indian
But they don't-
interactions.
I don't think the show really says it. I agree
No.
with her for a second row, but I don't think the show uses it.
It definitely did not bring it up a lot.
All right, let's take this back. Let's step back a second here. And I would not really consider this a reality show. This is very much a documentary about these two people's weddings. I don't think that we talked about it briefly, and maybe we should have stopped. But we went to an Indian wedding. This was about Indian weddings, so I feel like we have some relevant conversations here, regardless of whether this is a reality show or not.
Closing out our pseudo love month.
Yeah. But some of our shows weren't very lovey this month, though.
That's why it's a pseudo love month.
Just one wasn't lovey, right?
I think so.
Well, like Love Wagon wasn't really lovey.
It's in the
It has
title,
love in
Chris.
the name.
No one was hooking up on that Love
Just
Wagon.
that
I
It was
watched
episode
the
one.
episodes.
Just that one episode wasn't lovey. The show was though.
Sure. I mean, you tell me that.
Like,
What?
Shumai was gonna get a girlfriend. Like, it was gonna happen. We just had to watch more.
Oh. Okay.
Maybe we'll get an update today.
I would say Southern Charm New Orleans was not love monthy.
There are couples in it. There was more talk about love in that than there were in Love Wagon. So
I think we need to
Dude,
stop
dude.
debating love month and talk about the actual show.
Okay.
as you can see, I was very thrilled by this show. What? I don't
So
know.
this is categorized in Netflix's romance-themed reality shows, which is how I found it. But it had been described to, if you listen to our Indian matchmaking episode, and Anshul was on that. Anshul mentioned there was another Netflix India romance-themed show, but it might be a documentary, and so we took a chance on it.
Wait. Anshul mentioned this show.
Maybe he mentioned a different show, and then I found this show and thought this was the same show.
This show premiered like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Oh, we're on the pulse. The heartbeat. Yeah, so I mean, we start this off by like 3 months before, see both these couples like go to this like wedding planning place. They're planning this wedding. I don't know. It seemed like one of these people have been planning for years. I don't really know. It was very unclear. They went to what was that website that they
We
went
wed
to?
good.
Wed me good.
Oh, wed me good. Thank you.
Yeah,
man.
come on. If you want, you can pay us for that. Shout out here. But like
I
they
think
talked
they were
about
paying
like
Netflix. They're good on the paying people.
I know. I'm trying to make a joke, VJ. They're like talk about finding a priest that like fits their needs, and like seems like India's in a big like culture shift in their like religious ceremonies, which as the wedding we went to, or at least I think all of us went to, right? Didn't have a real ceremony at all. They kind of just said their vows and that was it. As opposed to this, VJ shaking his head at me.
There were no vows, right? Like at the wedding we all went to, they literally just signed the documents and that was it.
There was like but okay, fair. I shouldn't be talking that
It was a written vow.
The legal document was
Yes, that's what a vow is.
So this time we got to see like, at least towards the end, we get to see like more of some of the things they do. But like this whole show is so chopped up. Like I couldn't tell you what one couple did versus the other couple. Like honestly, they like were talking over each other while we're seeing other people. Like, ugh.
It's an interesting sort of editing choice that they have these two couples, and really it's the two brides that are like the focus of it. And they're trying to tie the through line through of them having a similar theme, but then they'll just the visual and the voiceover are mixing and matching all the time, and it's very hard to keep track of who's who. And so it's, I'll admit, like there's times where I was like trying to we like Noah said start like Ami was the only one that was really bridezilla. I was like, well, is that true? And I'm trying to keep which ones were which on all the different things, and I don't feel like I actually have a good sense of can keep that straight really clearly because of how the show set it up.
So like the one thing that, VJ, you could probably help us out with this, is that they talked about this ceremony where the mom transfers really like the responsibility from the guy to the wife, or from her to the wife, I guess. I don't know. And that was a big talking point for Pallavi.
Right. So like, okay, when you can say it like in different ways, but basically what happens is as part of the ceremony, in different parts of India and different families might do it differently, but like in essence, the family gives away the bride to the husband, right? And this is really no different than weddings here. Like
Yeah, that's
right?
a very common thing we would do here.
Exactly. So like the culture shift you talk about of like, hey, let's not be sexist. I don't like in the weddings that you'll see in this show, I actually don't think it's actually that different than things that are happening here, right? And like people talk about giving away the bride here, that same shit happens, right? So like Pallavi, in this episode particularly, Pallavi makes it a point that she's like, hey, I don't want any sexist shit in my wedding. And so she, argues and debates with people around her to make sure that doesn't happen, which is her complete right and great on her to actually take a stance on that. But the show is terrible for just calling her type A for that, firstly. So it's like, and then the show kind of makes it seem like it's a particular Indian thing when like clearly we're saying the same shit is happening like worldwide. So like, why is that? Like they make it seem like it's a particular Indian thing just because like there's a very specific ceremony there, but like giving away the bride is like the most common thing anyway.
Oh yeah. I don't see any like I don't know if I've heard of anyone say it's like sexist here. I mean, obviously it is, but like women
Right.
still want to walk down the aisle with their dad, and like that's very much giving away, like in a sense.
I
And
bet
the-
there's some women who don't, you know, and this is kind of similar thing.
No, I'm sure. Yeah.
the priest asked, right, who gives away this bride? Like, like they show that in movies. I think I'm pretty sure I've been to a wedding where the priest asked, and it's just like, this is no different. Like, it's just like, there's a different name for it. They do different physical actions, but it's the same shit.
Yeah, this is why we need the VJ. We need the podcast within the documentary to tell us what's going on.
Also, on Netflix, when I saw the show, it definitely said docu-series and some designation of it.
When we started the show, in the show itself, it says it's a docu-series, but in the tags, it did not say docu-series.
Got it.
Maybe they just wanted to get Rob to watch the show, so they got rid of the docuseries.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I wonder if the Netflix algorithm is showing different tags to different people.
Maybe. Like, I'm on Netflix.com right now on the show page, and it's classified as wedding and romance reality TV.
That's what I had too. Yeah.
Right. But I think the show itself says docu-series. Is that
The show itself definitely said docu-series. So like 2 minutes in, it's like, oh,
That's what I remember.
Yeah, but like the show is trying to really tie, like, it's really trying to tie these two ideas together that I think are related but not really tied together. Of there was the, hey, we shouldn't necessarily do things, the traditional way, especially when it's sort of not equal, and it's good for women to take a more active role in this. But then there's also the sort of bridezilla over the top kind of controlling thing, and it's like, I don't think it does a very good job of kind of distinguishing, like, there's a good level of taking ownership of your own wedding, and then there's a you're just being an asshole now level. And
Yeah, like if they're gonna go for the whole bridezilla thing, which the title of the episode infers a little bit, either they couldn't find a bridezilla, and so they had to dial it down, which I find hard to believe, or like they really just sold this incorrectly into the show.
I actually don't think, like, I've seen all 3 episodes. I've seen all 6 couples. Like, I don't think any of them, like, Ami is by far the most unreasonable. The other ones, like, they're silly in some way and dumb in some way, whatever, but like they're not, it doesn't seem like they were really going for the reality TV aspect. They weren't going for drama, right? So I think the like what Netflix wanted and what the show creators gave them maybe not aligned to it.
Well, it's like, take a step back and like, okay, so these are 6 couples. They filmed like they're like a documentary for their wedding, and it's like, what makes these 6 couples that interesting to watch in a documentary? Like, why don't we pick another 6 couples? Like, why? Like, what makes these people special? And from these two couples, nothing. It's just a fucking wedding.
And
Yeah.
the only 2 common things stuck out to me across the 6 couples. One, they're all hella rich. Just money's just growing on trees. It's coming down, right? And 2, all of them either currently or have at some point lived in the US. All 6 people, 6 couples, right? So all, like, I don't know if all 12 people, but like most of them.
Pallavi
So
and Rajat?
I believe,
them-
yes.
One of
Yeah,
them
it-
was in Australia.
Oh,
So that was Nitin.
Hmm.
But they live in Seattle now.
so maybe not the US, but like maybe they've just lived outside India. Maybe that's the thing. I wasn't clear to me in the moment, but like it definitely, all of them seem like, like even for Pallavi, they mentioned being long distance at some point. So I'm pretty sure one of them for college or something was not in India.
So I'm looking at Pallavi's LinkedIn. She's never left India.
Right. So it must be Rajat then.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like everyone that has to have like good English to be able to be in this documentary.
You don't have to leave India for that.
No, I know you don't have to, but if you do,
I think there's something else. Like I don't know how. Like I'm very curious to know how they pick these 6 people, and there's something else going on there. Like, but like yeah, like it's all of them are hella rich. So like I think like if you just did that category, your English level would automatically be reasonable already.
Yeah, I could say for Rajat as well. He went to school in India, worked in India. Again,
He said
LinkedIn.
oh
Yeah, I don't know. They said that they did long distance and like across like time like many time zones. So like that's kind
Yeah.
of where I got that from. So I imagine one of them has to leave for that to happen, right?
Totally. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no. But yeah, to go in. So, Nitin and Ami, they live in Seattle. One works for Microsoft. One works for Amazon.
Great.
should we
Yeah.
call them up, see if they want to be interviewed on our pod?
I'm sure they would. Why
That's
not?
the option.
All right,
I'll slide into their LinkedIn DMs.
do it up. Be like, we do this podcast. We have 200 plus episodes.
Actually, I mean,
very professional.
we got people here that work at one of those companies. They should have sent an email, much higher response rate than a random ass LinkedIn DM.
You never know.
I trust your skills, Noah. I want to see you work your magic.
So I mean, the show, we get to see them get closer and closer and closer to the wedding, and part of the planning. And I don't know, this fucking show is so boring. The next interesting thing I have that I wrote down was like at some point, like 3 days before the wedding, it seemed like Ami and Ninten had like a white party where everyone dressed in white and there was just paint everywhere, and that looked hella fun. I've done like a marker party where you all dressed in white and you could like write on each other. That was really fun. This seems really fun.
So I had 2 comments about that party. One, she's like, people don't really do this where everyone dresses in white and like, that this happened, blah, blah, blah. And like, so when she's saying that, I'm sitting on my couch just yelling, because that's how they do funerals in India, idiot. And people don't like reenacting funerals at their wedding. So, like, don't be surprised when people don't do this.
Wait, they dress all in white, or they do the colors? Like, what's with the funeral?
The all dress in all white. So like at a funeral, everyone's supposed to dress in all white when you go to a funeral. So that's like, then obviously like if you attach something to a funeral, you're not trying to replicate it at your wedding. But then the second thing, the color party, that's just the festival of Holi. Like
Yeah.
she like makes it sound like she's doing something so unique, and it's like everyone's doing this once a year. I don't know what you're talking about.
I could see that, but I could say that looked like a fun party.
Is this the equivalent of like hiding a bunch of eggs around your wedding?
What?
Like,
Like you doing
no,
Easter?
like reenacting
yeah.
at your wedding for no particular reason.
I mean, it's a fun party. You can do a fun party, but like I didn't mind that they did a Holi party at their wedding.
Well-
Just the fact that she claimed it was unique.
Yeah, like Max, I was at a wedding in December and they brought out a Santa Claus and had the kids come and take photos with Santa. And then I also took a photo with Santa. And like, so that's the thing people do at weddings, like,
Celebrate the
no
holidays.
one claimed, no one's ever had Santa at their wedding before.
I've only ever seen it once at the wedding Rob's talking about, but those people didn't try to claim that there was something like crazy that they thought of.
Yeah, but it wasn't a holy party at their wedding. It was a party that used like similar holy fun things.
They all came from a funeral.
It's a holy part. Like there's nothing left. Like maybe like unless they didn't drink bhang, which is like unless they if they did that, like it's literally a holy party. You have it in the daytime. You play with colors. You eat. You drink. You go home. Like that's it. That's all.
Do you
Holi
dress
is.
all in white though?
For some people they do, like mostly at Holi, because you're gonna ruin your clothes, you just wear old clothes because that's easier.
So they just combined a funeral with Holy is what we're getting at.
I mean, like I'm not saying like people don't do white parties in India. It's just like she made it sound like, oh, this is something unique. I'm like, yeah, like there's a reason people don't usually do this.
Well, there you go. Then we get to see these weddings. They get to see we get to see a lot of dancing. There's a lot of just like playing a song and like just seeing people at a wedding. Like it's just like a lot
I'll
more
mention,
Go
I'll
ahead.
mention here something that I thought was interesting with the show was that like there's a lot of still photos in this show, and it's like supposed. I assume a lot of them are photos taken like at the actual wedding from like wedding photographers and stuff. But it's an interesting kind of another interesting kind of editing choice of a lot of just talking with these very stylized looking still photos going on.
I thought it was like for the gram. I thought this whole thing was just like, oh, for the gram, here we go. Like every time there's a photo, I thought that they pulled it right from their Instagram accounts.
I mean, they might have.
I think like for the grams a loose term here because like wedding photos have existed for long. Like wedding photos obsession has existed for longer than the gram. So like that kind of just has existed even without that really.
Yeah, but just because wedding photos existed in the past doesn't mean that they're not doing this for the gram today. Like,
And we gotta loop it back. Where do we get doing it from for the gram? Anyone remember?
was it that BuzzFeed show?
No,
No.
it was Rob.
Well, the Graham Generation came from I don't remember the name of the show, but it was another Indian show we watched.
Yeah, it was an Indian dating show on the beach.
In dating show on the beach.
What?
Yeah. Well,
What's-
I'll look it up also.
You
Is
gotta,
it the one?
So that's not where the expression "for the gram" comes from, Noah. We got the Graham Generation from that.
Yeah, I mean, just within our podcast, but yeah, in general, we're doing it for the gram.
our podcast is the only thing that exists.
I mean, in my pop culture references, yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
the
mean,
love?
Yeah.
What the love?
Yes.
I don't remember if that was a good show or not.
No, it was not.
I don't think.
So let's talk about this wedding a little bit more. Like,
Can we talk about the proposal first?
oh
Yeah.
sure, you can talk about
the
like.
proposal.
I just have what I wrote down, and I don't have a whole lot written down. So
The proposal. So one of the things is like I watched it a couple of days ago. Then I've discussed it with some people, so I just have things in my head. The proposal is just this thing is like a trigger point for me. I've discussed this.
explain what happened, VJ.
So effectively, everyone is at Ami's wedding. Like there's seems like hundreds of people there, and then
This is a few days before. Like, this is not the wedding, the big day, quote unquote.
Yeah, this is the big weekend. This is starting of the weekend, let's say. And so effectively the guy has worked with the wedding planner to plan a proposal where they have like this nice little area, people will be there, there's beautiful lights, and she will be asked to come down for a photo shoot and he will propose to her. This is a known trigger point for me because, and Rob can tell you about, they're just like, what is wrong with these people? They've already planned the wedding. They've already invited everyone. People have already flown from wherever the fuck they need to be there from. Assuming like this is not too long ago, maybe they were already in Seattle. These people have flown from Seattle to India, and they're at the wedding spot. And then she's like, "I'm not engaged." Like, you're fucking engaged. Like, I don't know how else to tell you this. And
Not traditionally.
proposal. But in reality, she has already told us exactly when the proposal happened. She mentions earlier on the show how she called him up and she was like, "I'm buying my wedding dress and we're going to get married." And he said yes. And that's it. That's the proposal. She proposed to him. He said yes, it's all great.
Okay, but she kept talking about how she was imagining it would always happen in a specific way. She never got what she wanted. So this is just an excuse to sort of get that visual thing that she always wanted and also do it for the gram.
No, I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, I hate it.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous.
One person is very anti-sexist, and one person is very pro classical sexism here.
Yeah, so
She
I
wants to
can,
be proposed to, even though she already proposed.
Yeah, I can
One-
confirm they've already been in Seattle. They've been here since 2016.
Right. So it's so unreasonable that, like, effectively the guests are already there. What do you mean you need to propose? Like, what's going on here?
I don't
Like,
know. I have no problem with this. This is like, oh, we missed part of something. We can just do this. Like, I don't understand. You're not at this
You
wedding. What
have
do
a
you care?
party. You don't need to call it a proposal. You want to have like an afternoon party? Just have a fucking afternoon party. They're like,
I
Never
mean,
was there.
let's be clear. When they say this is pre-wedding, like this is the wedding. Like the Indian wedding, like the day of is like when you like do the ceremony or whatever. But like people are in town and like invited to all these parties. It's not like
Right? Exactly.
it's the wedding.
Like,
VJ, does she actually say she's not engaged, or she said she'd never had a proposal?
She
She-
says
she's-
she's engaged, but she says something like there's some conversation where someone is mentioning or she's mentioning that she's told her friend she's not engaged. See, there's no ring.
Yeah. She just wants to check that box. So like she has the ring, and then
They
it's
can do
all
a ring ceremony. I'm not like saying they shouldn't do a ring ceremony. They can do a ring ceremony, but to call it a proposal is
Oh,
unreasonable.
VJ, I think you need to calm it down. I think it's okay.
I mean, I'm with VJ on this. That there's other examples of people we actually know where it's like people say they're not engaged, even though they are very deep into wedding planning and have a lot of things figured out. And it's like the commitment is the engagement. The having a physical ring or having a oh well we had this he got down on one knee thing is not the thing that makes the engagement. The commitment makes the engagement.
Okay,
And
Rob.
people are nuts if they don't think that.
So like if you say somebody was engaged, like they did the whole one knee thing and they got the ring, but didn't set a wedding date and haven't set one for like 2 years. Are those people still engaged?
I mean, if they're definitely committed to getting married, they're engaged. Now, if you're saying they've been just not doing anything for 2 years and it's questionable, that's questionable.
you can make false commitments. So they've made the commitment. But that
I'm
doesn't-
just trying to poke holes in this whole thing. That's all.
If they're committed to getting married, they're engaged. That's how it works.
What if they're just
regardless
engaged
of what
and
rings were not exchanged?
What if they just wanted to get engaged and they don't actually plan on getting married?
We're saying that's not possible. By
That's
definition,
that's not engaged. I've answered Chris's question. That is not.
What do you
engaged.
mean? They've got the rings. They
That
tell
doesn't
people
matter.
they're engaged. What
The
do you
commitment to getting married is the engagement. So if
committed
you're not
to
committed to
being
getting
engaged.
married, you're not engaged.
Yeah. Why would they invite so many people to India to do this? To just be like, oh no, sorry, we're calling it.
mean? No. We're not talking about this situation anymore. We're talking about a different hypothetical. Shows you how much I actually care about the show. Anyway, let's get to the wedding.
Wedding.
When we went to the wedding, our Indian wedding we went to, which was BJ's friend's wedding, we saw there was a lot of dancing. It was pretty fun. Everyone was having fun. And that's exactly what it kind of looks like here in this show. It's just like a montage of these two weddings, and everyone seems like they're dancing and have a good time. There's no like drama that we see as far as I remember or could tell. And everything goes off. They had a hitch. No one's on an elephant. Like
Not-
everything, all hunky dory.
No
there's
drama means no reality show.
on an elephant on this TV show where you can definitely get arrested for it.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if you could get arrested for that.
You
I
get
just know
arrested
it's-
for an elephant?
It's like a faux pas.
In a lot of most places that's not allowed.
Huh.
So people do it and they get away with it, but like you're not gonna put that on TV.
Got it. Yeah, makes
Well,
sense.
just to take a step back here, we saw one of the men come in on like a car, like in the roof. He's coming through the sunroof, which is a very classical Indian wedding, is to come in on a elephant, on the back of an elephant.
Horse.
And
Horse is
horse.
the classic one.
okay, horse is classical. Elephant is like emperor.
You're rich and you want to show off, and you ended up being tacky by accident.
And you shouldn't be on the back of an elephant because their backs are not. It's not good for their backs.
Especially Asian elephants, which are much smaller than African elephants.
So just that's why that was brought up. Anyway, and that was the end of the show. Does anyone have any other? Well, I guess we can get into more minutia in the questions if people have more minutia than I need to. So let's get into the questions. Let's just do it. Who's the worst human being? Rob, who do you think it is?
They don't really we don't get a lot of info on people besides Ami and Pallavi. So I'm gonna go with Ami, but I'm not sure she's that of a compared to some people we've seen. I'm not sure she's that terrible, but open to other suggestions from people.
This doesn't have to be the worst in comparison to other people we know. Just the worst person on this show.
Yeah.
And I'd agree with that. Just be like Disney proposal thing.
VJ, what do you think?
It's Ami for the poem thing.
The poem thing.
The
The poem
thing
thing
like,
is.
I mean, like if you want to phrase it really badly, it's identity fraud.
I mean,
That's extreme.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You want to phrase it really, really extremely. But like it's like for her to feel that what her parents are doing for her by, probably paying for this giant ass wedding isn't good enough, and that they needed to write a poem, but she thinks that they are not good enough to write a poem, so she'll write a poem and dedicate it to herself. That's saying something.
Yeah.
all right. I think that you have a consensus there on that one. There's no host, so we'll skip that one. What's the most baffling, cringeworthy moment? I think VJ's already given his.
Wait, which one are we picking up on?
I don't know. I assumed you would say about the poem, but if you have another one,
Poems worse than the proposal for sure.
I assume it was the poem. VJ or Rob, do you have a different one?
I'm trying to think if I have a different one. That one is so good that I think if I had a different one, it probably takes it. But come back then. I'll see if I have another one. But.
Brian, do you have one?
A lot of what Rajat was doing was really baffling. He was like, "Yeah, I was picking her up by her feet, and like I wasn't really flirting with her."
Yeah.
But she thought, like, do you really not think you were flirting with her?
For some context though, like he's talking about not an adult Rajat, but like a 13-year-old.
Yeah, this is in like
Yeah.
grade school. Like
No, for sure. But that's still like
he's in his
around
own
when you
world.
Start. Yeah.
Noah,
Yeah.
do you have one?
Yeah, so Ami's siblings. So let me take a quick step back. At any wedding, everyone, or I guess if you have a lot of money, you choreograph dance. You have your choreographer, you practice, you get it all down. So her siblings also do this. They get their dance ready, and also you got to choose your song. Ami didn't like the song they chose, so at the wedding, she changes the song that they choreographed this dance to on the spot, and they have to just roll with it because it's her wedding.
No. That's not exactly. So there was one performance planned with them in it that she had chosen the song and they had practiced for it. Then they were planning another surprise performance, just the two of them, and she just canceled it. She was like, "No, you two do not get to do that."
So, yeah, it's too. Part of it is that this was a surprise she wasn't supposed to know about, and she found it out and canceled it.
Cancel culture.
Screw your surprise. This is not what I want in my wedding.
So bad.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Max, do you have one?
Nothing that hasn't been mentioned yet, and I think that kind of gets to the core of, to get meta for a second, there was so little that happens in the show to choose from for cringy moments.
Yeah, I don't have one. Zero. Rob, did you think of one?
I feel there's one I'm thinking of, I'm not thinking of, but Noah's was very good. As soon as Noah started saying it, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a good one. So good job, Noah.
We usually skip this question, but the like minor minutia. But I have a question for VJ. I don't know if he can answer this or not. But like in the beginning of the show, Ami said something about Ninten wasn't like flirting, as Brian said, but then she said, "Let me pull his leg." Is that just like as in like ask him out to a date or like try him out? Like I didn't understand the context.
Oh, is that not a phrase here? Sorry. I sometimes like I don't realize what phrases I know and which ones belong here, which ones don't. Or which ones are common here, which ones aren't. Pulling someone's leg is basically like joking about them, like making fun of them.
I definitely know the expression pulling someone's leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not the way
I've heard that
she's
my whole life.
not. But I didn't understand it in the
That's what I was
context.
thinking. I'm like, I did
No,
not
Chris,
realize.
it made sense in context. She's
What do you
messing with
mean?
him. That's what pulling someone's leg. She was trying to mess with him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't understand.
I
it
was
in
like,
that
oh, is this an
context.
Indian phrase again? Like, this
No,
is-
no.
Like pulling someone's leg, yes, is a thing, but like I didn't understand it in this context of like, oh, let me fake ass this guy out, but then 10 years down the line we're still together. Like I didn't.
Well, that's the point, Chris, is she was trying to troll him, and he ended up. But then she trolled herself because she ended up like with him. As similarly, like I don't know if it's the same couple as the other couple. The guy's like, I thought I was a player. I was gonna date her for just a few months, and now it's 11 years later. We're still dating. You know, it's the same idea.
I don't know. It's just maybe it's just the way they phrased it. It doesn't click in my head. Anyway,
Chris didn't understand most of the show.
that's fair. That's a valid statement.
This seems like a recurring theme.
Chris, you drunk?
And no, not drunk.
How many seltzers have you had today?
0 seltzers.
We don't talk about seltzers in the pod the way we did right before we stopped seeing each other in person.
Yeah, well, we don't. You're not at my house drinking all my seltzers anymore. Like, you got to provide your own. Does anyone else have any minor minutia? Just like raise your hand. I'll call on you.
We'll bring this up in the production schedule talk. But like, what's the name of the hand tattoos the women all have?
Henna.
Henna.
Or Medi, right? Or Medi.
But yeah. Henna is the thing you use, like the actual material, and mehendi is like making the design.
Got it. So many of the confessionals, they have that on their hands, which I thought was very interesting. Of just like, it seemed, and I was, does this mean that most of these confessionals happened like right before, right after some of these ceremonies, or but they're just like putting it on
That's
for
just
the
their
show
daily
itself?
thing. They just
When you
wear
say
it.
they had it on their hands, I didn't notice this. Do you mean like they had the wet stuff on their hands, or just the pattern?
The pattern.
Right. So that could have been like they could have gotten it like 4 days before the wedding, so all the confessionals are within those 4 days.
But they like filmed this thing like months before, supposedly. Like there's.
Well, this is my question of like, and this is getting to the production schedule talk of like how many of these confessionals were actually in. Did they actually film most of this in these sort of right around these ceremony days? Because there's a couple shots that are like 2 months ago or whatever, but most of it is like just like the week of the parties leading up to the official ceremony and the wedding itself. And did they do all the confessionals then? Because I feel like if you're this type A bridezilla, you don't have time to be doing confessionals. You got 100 other things to go boss people around to do. Like,
Post-wedding confessional.
maybe it's all post-wedding. I don't know.
I'm actually more like I was asking other people, it's like, how much did Netflix pay these people, right? Or what did they pay for at the wedding, right? What happened? So like that's kind of the only thing where like if you are a type A bride, but you're like, okay, well, I can have a better wedding if I agree to do blah blah blah, so that this money will come in, then I get to have these things at my wedding. That's how you like get okay with it.
Well, I think that there's a 2-step here. I think that Netflix gives you a wedding video. They've got all the video footage. They'll make a video for you, and like you'll get paid. But I don't think they pay for specific things at the wedding. Like that helps you make your wedding better because you got paid. But like I don't think that they're paying for like the flowers or something. That wouldn't be
right.
Like that. They don't.
Yeah, mainly I was thinking of like they would have paid for all the photography, all the videography, right? And then on top of that, they give you some gas, right?
I don't even know if they'd pay for the photography.
No, I think VJ's right. My guess is they foot like a material amount of the wedding, and then I don't know if they like do the photography in the traditional sense, but you have a Netflix camera crew recording all your wedding, and so you get that for free.
I mean, given how much still photography was used in the Netflix show, they have photographers.
You think these A-type people are like not choosing their own their photographers? Come on. You think they're gonna let Netflix pick them?
They're
It
not,
might have multiple photographers.
but also like the Netflix one's gonna be better than the one you can afford. So like, just because they're type A doesn't mean they're stupid.
Are you sure? These are some baller weddings. Like Netflix doesn't like they could cheap out. Like why would you assume they'd have a good photographer? Like, if you've seen a documentary, how many still footages have you seen? Like this might be the only fucking one.
I'm just saying, I think Netflix normally will just have a higher budget than most people. Like, I understand these people are rich, but like, it's Netflix we're talking about.
Yeah, but like Netflix is just filming people getting married. It's cheap for them. So I don't know. I have no idea, to be honest with you, how much they would pay. So let's talk about the production schedule, Rob. I think that you're right. I think this is filmed the week of their wedding, like 5 days of their wedding, and then that's it.
So when we see the 2 months ago, is that fake? Did they actually like pop in and do some filming a couple months before the 5 days? What
That's
do we
their
think that
interview.
was?
Their interview is 2 months before their wedding. Then they use that footage.
So I think like for example, for Ami, we know that these people are in Seattle, right? But couple of months ago, whatever, that was also in India. So what is happening is that they've agreed with these people up front, right? So then these like Ami and Nitin, I guess that's the husband's name, right? They must have flown to India to like plan some of the wedding stuff a couple of months beforehand. So maybe Netflix just stopped in for a couple of days, recorded a couple of things. Also, like, did some agreement with them. Like they also needed to coordinate with them, right? And then these people came back. And then they went back for the actual wedding. And then Netflix actually did the show.
Or they just faked it all and just said it was 2 months beforehand. And it wasn't. It was 5 days beforehand.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, like the only reason I'm saying the other way, it's like the 2 months ago stuff like was pretty low quality stuff. It wasn't like anything crazy. So they could have just like Netflix could have just been there with like one dude.
I think that just increases the time and complexity and overall cost of your documentary to have like a 2 months beforehand when you could all just film in 5 days.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we all agree the majority of it is like 4 or 5 days beforehand.
I gotta say, Chris, when you first said they faked it all, I was wondering if you were implying they didn't actually get married.
Yeah, that could be true. It's all fake just for this documentary. VJ, how much would it cost for you to be in a fake wedding documentary where you're not getting married to Leah, you're getting married to somebody else?
So wait, you're paying me to be in a documentary
Yeah.
and it's all fake.
Yep.
And there's no consequences.
Yeah.
And I just get like.
Well, I mean, the consequences here are that you'll be on Netflix and everyone sees you get married to not Leah.
Okay. And then am I getting to invite people?
I don't know.
Like, can we have like 3 days of baller parties from this? Because I'll do it for free. Someone can just pay for that shit.
Oh, okay. I was just,
Like,
I don't know. I was just throwing it out there. I don't know.
We get married and we'll put this show on Netflix, but all your friends and family get to have a baller weekend. Sign me up. I don't need any cash for that. Just pay for the
All right.
party.
There you go.
I mean,
Netflix.
I've seen a lower 5 version of VJ Fake getting married before, so he might not be the right person to ask that question.
All right, let's get into my favorite question. Let's get some drinking rules because this show gonna need some drinking rules. And I'll start us off. Every time you see the henna or minori or whatever it is, you take a drink.
The menorah?
Whatever the hand stuff is. I don't know.
And tattoos.
Hand
Mandy.
tattoos.
Yeah.
Well, it's henna, but then VJ,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
the other word for it?
Mandy. I think
Mandy.
someone said it, right?
So, Rob, what do you got for me?
You can take a drink every time there's a caption on the screen. And
Oh.
Chris, did you want to talk about the font in some of these captions?
Sure, it's so bad. You couldn't read any of it. It was like, I don't know how to pronounce any of your names. And then this font is unreadable. And it's on the screen for like 5 seconds. So you're like, even if you could read it, it's barely on there long enough for you to read.
I completely agree with the font comment. The other comment, Chris, why do they need to like serve to you? Like, why is the you not?
Because it's
being
on, it's on,
relevant.
well, that's fair. Like, I don't think they need to serve to me, but at least like you can't read the font. So
Completely agree with it.
like, I'm
Like,
not,
I complained about that as well.
my comment about the Indian names being off to me is just like I'd like it to be on there a little longer or easier to read so I could like read it.
I
It's
think,
just
but
like,
like,
I
it's
can't
easier to read regardless. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, the font was nuts.
Bad font. Brian, give me your drinking roll. I need it.
Ooh. I think you need a shot like every time you have one of those like stupid songs playing. And for the record, like they play like the intro song and the end song the same. So you're gonna have to do a shot at the beginning and the end.
You definitely need a beginning shot. I'll give you that. Noah, what do you got for me?
I'm thinking through something. Like I wanted to do something tied to like flowers, but I don't have anything too astute right now, so I'm gonna have to opt out.
All right, Max, you got a drinking roll for me?
Yeah, every time you see a gin and tonic, pour yourself a gin and tonic and down it in one go.
VJ, you got a drinking roll for us?
and drink like you're at the wedding.
I like
there you
it.
go. Those are the rules you'll need to watch the show.
I do actually. I have a comment about what Brian said about the stupid song, and I didn't think about it earlier. But like, they talk, this whole show is about Indian weddings. They could have used Indian music instead of
They
like,
absolutely should have.
like, what is going on here?
Amateurs.
Do you think that like I'm sure that they put this out like in Netflix India, and do you think like they would have changed any of that for this or no?
It's the same exact show. Like I've discussed
Okay.
it with friends.
Yeah. So
Okay.
And
we
I
know
don't
it's out in India and it's the same show.
Right. Yeah. Like all Netflix stuff, like all Netflix originals, basically come out at the same time.
Would this show be better as a Quibi? And I would say yes. Very much yes.
Yep.
Cut off an extra 40 minutes of the show. Much better.
Yeah.
I mean,
Rob?
Chris, you're just saying you don't want to watch the show. It was 40 minutes.
Yes.
I think the whole show is like it really is just a docuseries, and now like it's it's supposed to be informative for something that everyone on this call already knew, so like it's not helpful in that fashion.
But it's also not like, even if you had know nothing about any wedding, I think you'd still know essentially nothing at the end of this episode. You don't get to see the full ceremony. You don't get to see a good like timeline of the events. You see them go back and forth between stupid weddings. You can't tell who's who. They're talking over the wrong people. Like, it's just fucking asinine.
I think your nothing and the actual nothing in the knowledge spectrum that exists is like very far. Like you
Sure.
actually knew, like even before you went to an Indian wedding, you knew a bunch of stuff, which I don't think the average viewer does know.
I mean, you can walk away with like a little bit of knowledge, but like if you watch this and then I took you to an Indian wedding, you would have gotten nothing. Nothing. You would know nothing. Like, they don't even explain that the parties are part of the day events. There's just like, oh, one day before they did this thing. And it's like not even shown as like a big deal. Like, whatever. If you think that you could learn something
Chris,
from this.
I don't think this is trying to teach you just the mechanics of an Indian wedding. I don't think
No, well, VJ's saying that you learned something. So that's just kind of
I think
set me
people,
off.
like understand like, hey, like these are the different, like there's a couple of ceremonies shown, like I think Haldi is shown, like and now I'm having a hard time remembering which episode shows what, but like they do show like like generally like there's like a 3-day situation, this happens and this happens and they get married, people are there, there's dancing, there, like there's some level of progression there. So like I think that if you already know that, then the show really like has nothing new for you.
Okay. I mean, sure. I'm done arguing about it. Let's get into ratings. So we do a stack ranking system where we do top, middle, bottom compared to other reality shows, and some people might rank in their ranks, which you will find out. Rob, what do you got for me?
I'm putting this in the middle third. Like, I think there's a lot of some people are doing more down the show. I thought it was, kind of interesting to see, just go through the journey with them. I thought some of the aesthetic choices, but like the talking over each other's thing and stuff like that was not necessarily bad. It was kind of interesting, even though it was kind of also added to like some of the confusion of it. But like I thought it wasn't bad. I was enjoyed watching it. I don't know if I'd actually watch the other two parts, but it's all right.
Brian, what do you got for me?
I'm also putting it in the middle. I mean, as far as a reality show goes, it's not terribly reality, but at the same time, it was enjoyable to me, and I got to relate to it a little bit.
No, what do you got for me?
Yeah, kind of similar feeling. Like this definitely feels a little more Australian than our usual shtick. That said, I think it's fine. It's not like something I'm craving to watch more of, but I also don't think it was terrible. I think it is somewhat informative if you really are unfamiliar, which is really cool. I also think Indian weddings are just super fun. Right, and just fun to see all the pageantry. So for all the things combined, it's in the middle, but probably more towards the bottom of the middle because it's just not that captivating. It's more of just like something you have on and can glance up and down at.
Max, what do you got for me?
I was pretty bored. Like it was fine, but they really could have trimmed a lot of the show. So I'm gonna say bottom third, but top of the bottom. If you want to watch a show like this, I think you should watch Indian Matchmaking.
VJ, what do you got for me?
I think this show is like right in the middle of the middle. It's fine. I watched all of it, but thankfully that only meant 3 episodes. I don't think I'd really care to watch. Like if it was like a normal season, like 8, 9 episodes, I don't think I'd finish the season.
As you could probably tell, I think this is a bottom third show. I think it's a bottom third documentary. I think it's terrible. You give this footage to a different production crew, different editor, you could probably turn something somewhat entertaining out of this. But I think trying to follow these two couples was asinine. Like I tried to pay attention and like I don't know, I just couldn't do it. It's the bottom third. It's bad. I'm done. So Rob, you have a shout out this week?
Oh, I don't think I have a new shout out this week. No.
Well, I have a shout out this week. Well, more of, I guess, an anti shout out, probably. I watched The Great Escapists, which looked like a new reality show on Amazon Prime. But for some reason, I had like some sort of feeling, let me make sure this reality show, and it is 100% not a reality show. So it's a new show that has from Mythbusters, Tori Belleci, and then from Top Gear, Richard Hammond. And it's like the premise is that they're stranded on this island and they're trying to engineer things to get off the island. So you think it's like a Mythbusters type thing where they're like making stuff and like you get to see them try to escape this island with these like, this, but they really do that whole like Borat thing where they like really like dig into the fact that they're on this island and they're stuck and they don't know how to get off. But then they immediately go into building a car out of the like leftover boat parts they have, and then they make competing cars and they do a competing thing. And it's like, there's no way you made these cars. Like, this is just so stupid. You didn't make these cars. Like, this is the dumbest thing. And then they like build a giant tree house and you're like, what, how long were you there forever? Like, it's just, there's some like science. They try to go through some science in terms of like, well, the triangles are strong and we put these triangles here and like, we made this kind of wheel so it turns like this and like so like that's kind of what they're getting at, but at the end of the day it's very weird. I would not recommend watching it.
That's a shame because I feel like Top Gear plus Mythbusters is a pretty great mix.
Yeah, that's why I was like, ooh, I want to see them making some cool stuff to get, or like not even get off the island. I don't know, like could have been like, what was that show where they were in their warehouse trying to make like survive? Like, could have been that. Like, let's figure out how to clean this water we got over here. I don't know. Like, it didn't even need to be anything like super expensive, but they're making cars. It's just.
I mean, should we do Top Gear in the podcast sometime?
We could.
Okay.
I mean, there's also a new U.S. version of Top Gear, or a new season of it.
Is that the one with the guy from Friends?
Oh no, it has Dak Shepard. He's been promoting it a bunch.
Brian, you got a shout out this week?
I watched the pilot episode of Young Rock. For a pilot episode, it was okay. I'm going to keep watching it, but it wasn't like as entertaining as you would think, especially since like The Rock is in there for all of 2 minutes.
Whoa, if you think The Rock's going to be in there for more than 2 minutes, you've got a problem.
No, but like you want to like do flashbacks and like because the whole like premise is that like he's on the campaign trail and like he's telling his life story. So I get that like he's not going to be in there like for very much, but like you do want to see more of him and like tell like some stuff like from present day.
No, that's just not going to happen, Brian. It's
Brian,
Young Rock. It's not like Rock 2020.
So Brian, you feel some kind of Cleveland Hustle situation?
Yeah.
But whoa. I've seen this episode. And like Cleveland Hustle, he's not even in Cleveland. He's just like introing the show. Young Rock, like The Rock is in the show. He's like
Yeah.
in it for like 2-3 minutes to set up the story. Then you go see other actors play The Rock as like that, like in that time period. I think it's fine. It's a sitcom. It's fine, but like it's not like, don't go in expecting, I don't know, like Gone with the Wind or some crazy really good show. Like it's just not, like it's never going to be that. It's not trying to be that.
It's no Baywatch. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean it's probably not Baywatch either, which is not setting the bar very high. Noah, you got a shout out this week?
Yeah, Your Honor on Showtime. Incredible limited series. I'm not going to talk about it because like it just goes into a lot of spoilers quickly. But amazing show. Highly recommend. Get on Showtime. Go watch it.
Is that Judge Judy? Is Judge Judy in that?
It's Bryan Cranston.
Oh.
Walter White, otherwise known as Malcolm's dad.
Max, you got a shout out for us this week?
I've been playing a video game called Outer Wilds, not to be confused with Outer Worlds. Wilds is probably the best game I've played in the last 5 years. Very good. It's on Game Pass.
What's the game? Like, what do you do?
You are sort of you're an alien and you are going on like archaeology adventures around your solar system to find out what happened to the previous aliens that lived in your solar system. So it's like puzzle solving, space navigation stuff.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week. You can find us on Twitter at HoopOfTheSun. You can find us on Facebook.com/HoopOfTheSun. You can email us questions and suggestions at HoopOfTheSun@gmail.com. We'll see you guys next time.
Wait, one last thing. We're going to be changing our podcast RSS feed in the next 2 weeks. We'll put out a mini episode for that, but stay tuned.
All right. There you go. Bye.
But you know what? I should have given a shout out.
Yeah.
Emmy and I started watching Name That Tune as our Fold the Laundry show.
Ooh. What? That wasn't a shout out?
Well, we can record.
should've
It's
done a
recording
shout-out.
right now. So, like,
Do you fold the laundry together? Is that like a team activity?
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
When you have 3 people like doing laundry, like that definitely needs to be a team activity.
It's one night a week. We just like, let's just fold all the laundry. Like it's multiple loads of laundry and just like get it all done. And you want to have some show on, but you like, I don't want to be watching like the Queen's Gambit while we're folding laundry because that's, so
Let me-
it's like, Name That Tune. Name That Tune is a really good laundry show and pretty fun.
No, totally.
And Randy Jackson is involved and his voice he sounds very raspy now. And I'm wondering what happened.
Oh, no.
Well, wait, hold on. I want to step back. So, do you do all the laundry and keep the folding till the end, and then you and Emmy get in and just fold it all?
Yeah.
Okay. And then
How does
second,
name? Go
what
ahead.
the fuck is Name That Tune? Like, I don't understand.
It's a game show. I would have proposed for the pod, except it's a game show. And it's literally like they have the cover band that plays songs and you have to buzz in and say what the song is. And then there's a second round where they'll only play a certain number of notes and you have to try, there's this bidding process for like the fewer notes you have to try to guess the song. And then one person goes to the final round and it's the same thing. They play songs, you have to guess, but it's good at home participation because you also just try to guess the songs. And I'm not very good at it, but Emmy is not bad.
How does it compare to Beat Shazam?
I've not seen Beat Shazam. It's probably exactly the same.
I mean, I like the betting though. Like, oh, I can do it lower than you. That's great.
The other thing with the betting is there's a clue. And so like, for example, there was one yesterday where the clue was, this was this British artist's smallest hit. And I just went Tiny Dancer by Elton John. Just on the clue, and I was right. So so you can bid. I'll guess in one note, and they just play the one. Randy Jackson hits his piano one time, but then you just based on the clue, you try to guess. So
is this part of the Masked Singer universe, or like?
I think it's on Fox, but it's not part of the Masked Singer universe.
This is
It's
an
just a
old
different
show.
show. This is a reboot of a show Emmy watched as a kid, so
Yeah.
she's excited about it.
I've seen the old show, but also like I've seen like many versions of this similar tactic in like as features of other shows, right?
My favorite minor minutia from the show is before the final round, Randy Jackson has to give an inspirational pep talk to the person doing it, and it's like, why is this necessary?
Because it was in the old show. Got to do it in the new show.
I mean, I don't know if it was in the old show, but it's
Well,
like
it's-
before you do it, first, Randy, what do you want to say to the person? It's like, well, man, you've come this far, and you know you've shown you got what it takes. Now you just got to get it done. Let's hit it.
One of these weeks, he's going to give like an Independence Day level speech, and it's going to be great.
No, what do you eat?
Whipped cream.
No, just put it right in your mouth. Just go.
Yeah, what do you-
What are you doing? There you go.